Hey everyone, Reid with Valor. The purpose of this video today is to discuss what tens of millions of people are discussing in their home right now. Let's go ahead and get started. I bet, and tell me if I'm wrong, that many of you are having conversations in your house of, was the election valid? Did they really count all legal votes, or was it cooked? Were the books cooked? Does something smell fishy? I think that a lot of those conversations have happened. People wonder, how did this take place? I think other conversations people are having are, what happens now? What should we do about it? Is this the tipping point? Is this the boiling point over which the cauldron goes? Will there ever be another legitimate election ever again, or will mail-in voting be the new normal? Will lockdowns be the new normal? Stuff like that, right? What will the United States look like if the left gets their way? What does that future look like? I'll bet these are all conversations that you've had, either with yourself or with your group of friends. Well, guess what? You're not alone, because there's 70 million people that cast their ballot for Donald Trump. And I mean real people, not people that were 120 years old that somehow requested an absentee ballot. I'm talking about real people that went to the polls, cast their ballot, and did so in good faith that our elections, free and fair elections, would be upheld, right? People always ask me, you know, when will we know that the fix is in, that this country's been had? Well, FBI's already investigated the Trump campaign when he was a candidate. They've already done a phony impeachment. They've already done a phony investigation. And now they did a phony election. So I don't know, what would oh, and by the way, there've been lockdowns for the vast majority of the year in many states. And on top of that all, we have violent socialists running the streets with impunity. So 5 years ago, if I would have asked you what a revolution looked like, how many of those pieces would you have included in your analysis? So if you find yourself having these discussions, understand that you're not alone. I mean, at this point, many people may keep faith that the government of the United States will somehow fix this and right the ship. Are these the same investigative bodies who failed to put Hillary Clinton in jail? Are these the same investigative bodies that infiltrated the Trump campaign and tried to plant people? Are these the same people that made up FISA warrants in a court? Are these the same investigative bodies that have been investigating Joe Biden's son for over a year? Well, I think all this is cause for concern. What we do about it? Well, we can do a couple things. We can keep watching videos on the internet. We can keep hoping and praying. You know, praying is fine. Like, don't get me wrong, I pray all the time. We pray with our heart. We fight evil with our mind and our body. And there's a big difference there. One is spiritual, one is physical. And I can tell you this, guys, that if you're out there watching this video and you find yourself in a mood of despair, understand that's on purpose. It's orchestrated. They want you silenced. They want you to think that the game is over. They want you to think that nobody else feels this way, and yet you should be isolated and feel alone. That was the whole point of the COVID lockdown. The whole point of the COVID lockdown was to make you think that you're alone. The whole point of the COVID lockdown and people wearing masks is to make you less and less and less connected with your fellow patriots. And that is the whole point here. That's why they're kicking people off social media platforms, so that you feel like you don't have a voice. You know, people say, what about Twitter? Twitter's 90% leftist libtards. That's not a reflection of society. I've never in the history of my life seen something as public opinion as fringe as that. That's all those idiots do. They get on there and they think that their views are reality, when in fact they're a fringe. Not everybody lives in Manhattan. Not everybody lives in LA. Not everybody lives in Chicago. The vast majority of this country doesn't live in places like that. Well, I don't think this is the time to remain silent. I don't think this is the time to be isolated from fellow patriots. I think this is the time that you get together with your people. This is the time where people organize together. This is a time where you stand in defiance of evil. And that's what these people are. They're evil. You know, every week we get together with a dozen people and learn how to fight that evil. Every week that happens here. Even when we're not teaching classes out here, I'm still out in my community interacting with fellow patriots, fellow business owners, fellow people that believe the same way. And you need to do the same thing. You ever wonder how it is that the radical left can organize and get out in public physically? Because they have the willpower to do it. And they're the only ones doing it. Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if people sit back and take this silently, and they sit back and they accept this stuff, and they sit back and they don't do anything about it, well, you're going to get the government that you deserve. And I don't see that happening. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for this country. I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for people. But don't for 1 second think that the news is reality. It's nothing but propaganda designed to shape your mind into submission and silence. So if you found yourself having that discussion with your family, understand you're not alone. Now the difference is, an idea means nothing without action. This is Reid Henrichs of Valor reminding you, lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.